they not afraid when they tried to die? When I was a child, I imagined what kind of life I would lead in the future. For example, wanting to be a hero, marrying someone I love, having fun in various places, and so on. However, I have seen many characters die in novels and movies and experience the funerals of loved ones. Then one day, I suddenly thought, what will happen to me when I die? My body was shaking so much at the time. I have been thinking about it deeply for several years. We know our consciousness only lasts from after we are born until before we die. We don't even know if there's another life after death. I became very afraid of dying. One day I asked my mother if she wasn't afraid of dying. Then she answered, I'm sure I thought about it too much when I was an age, but as I've gotten older, I have learned not to think about it, and I'm much happier when I don't. My mother was laughing then as if she had no fear. I still have a fear of death, but it's better than before. Maybe it's because my mother's happy smile made me realize that I'm so happy that I don't need to think about it. There is no universal answer to solving suicide. Every suicide is different, and the situations are difficult and widely different. In addition, the worries and the despair that each person faces are extremely complex. But there are at least two things I can say. The first is to tell someone about the darkness in your heart. It could be family, friends, or call center. By telling someone you trust, you may be able to erase their worries and suicidal thoughts and calm your mind. If you keep holding onto the darkness in your heart, you and your heart will no longer be able to handle it. The second is my own idea. To smile. When people experience something sad or painful, they often become depressed. If people remain as they are for a long time, they may choose to die. I don't want the people to die because of such reasons. Please try to remember all the things you love. Your friends, family, favorite comedy sketches, songs, casual time, all the fun and the happiness that you absolutely remember. Then you will naturally smile. A smile has the amazing power to heal both real illness and emotional wounds. Even though people experience failure, despair, and the heart-wrenching reality. As I've said many times, I am afraid of death, but there's no fun in continuing to think about it. That's why I decided to live my life to the fullest, always smiling and doing what I love. So I'll tell the following, which is my best way to live life to people with no hope. Smile and live as much as you can. Thank you for listening, everyone living today.
Now we have 2 minutes for a joint answer period. Mr. Kubota, please.
Okay, so Carlos, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for a dynamic, passionate speech. Yeah. So, have you ever experienced a failure, like you want to die? Like, I have, because like entrance exams or maybe the job interview, of course, a speech contest. I made so many failures, and sometimes I wish, like, I would like to vanish from this world.
Of course,
You
I
did it,
have.
right?
Yes, of course I have.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, so recently when I was a junior high school study student, I took a Japanese class whose the topic was death and disease. It was an essay, but it said that the main character said, I want to die, and some. Then when I read and considered about it, I became very depressed. because if I die, what will happen? But I don't know it. So for a short time, I was very afraid of dying and depressed very much.
Okay. Well, through listening to your speech, I felt like you are a kind of extreme optimist, right?
Yeah.
So, but in a society, there are some kind of people who who take things in a pessimistic way, right? So, what is the difference between, or like, why is there an optimist and a pessimist in this society? What makes them so different?
I see that maybe I am one kind of optimistic, and I feel every day is fun and my life is wonderful. But maybe for a pessimistic, uh, the world they see is surrounded by failure, despair, and unfortunately, and disease, and so on. So I think that they are uh, they don't have a courage or a confidence to live their lives. But I think if there is a pessimist, I would say that don't think too much. Your life is your own life. Please enjoy. I say.
And maybe my last question. Well, you focus on the suicide as for the death, right?
Yeah.
But maybe like there will be death caused by accidents, death caused by disease. For example, like when I ride in a plane, there is some kind of a fear. What if the accident happens there and the aircraft just falls? So what do you feel like that in your case? What do you feel when you ride on a plane?
I see that we don't know our destiny when we will die in plane, ships, and traffic jam. But so we don't know, and we cannot deal with our destiny. So if I light on the plane, which is going to crash, I will remember all the things that is important for me. For example, family and friends, or my dear teacher, and so on. So, but in this speech, I want to say that we can't deal with our destiny, but I want people deal with your life, not suicide.
Okay. So time to stop. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Christopher. Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Here is Dr. Tom. The eighth speaker is Ms. Waka Nishio from Kanto International Senior High School. She will deliver her speech under the title of I am because you are. I am because you are. Ms. Nishio, would you come up to the stage?
reminds us that our happiness depends on each other. That word is Ubuntu. It is a beautiful philosophy from Africa. The meaning is, I am because you are. It's a very simple word, which we tend to forget today's divided world. It does contains a very important truth. When I first saw a video of children suffering from poverty, I couldn't forget their faces and asked myself, why is the world so unfair? That question will always remain in my heart. I began learning various problems in the world, focusing on those in Africa. Also, I learned about issues such as poverty, the history of colonial rule, and climate change. While at the same time, I also learned about the strengths of the community where people support each other. I wanted to know more, so I took a class to learn about African society and culture. That's where I came across the idea of Ubuntu. It's not just a word, it is also a way of life. Nelson Mandela, the great president of South Africa, explained it like this. When we were young, wherever you were in our country, travelers would stop in the villages and they wouldn't have to ask for food or for water there. The villagers just be happy to entertain the travelers with their food. For me, this is Ubuntu. Even if someone is a stranger, we care. Even when we don't have much, we give. Because we are all connected. Your joy is my joy. Your pain is my pain. Unfortunately, the world is now full of war, racism, bullying, and hate. Instead of building bridges, people build walls. But Ubuntu teaches us that we are all human beings who support each other and live together. This isn't just true in Africa. It's true in Japan, America, and everywhere in the world. That's why I want to live with the spirit of Ubuntu in my daily life. Can I say that I live with the spirit of Ubuntu? Yes, I think so. However, can I say your sadness is my sadness? I can't confidently say yes, even when I see lost foreigners in the city. I can't do anything for them because I don't have enough confidence in my English skills. In this way, I see that living with Ubuntu is not always easy. But still, I want to expand Ubuntu in my life. To care for my family, listen to my friends, thank my teachers, and value my school. If we repeat these small actions, I believe the spirit of Ubuntu will grow little by little. Finally, I ask myself and you, what is a word that reminds us that our happiness depends on each other? That's what Ubuntu means. The meaning of Ubuntu is I am because you are. Thank you.
Now we have 3 minutes question and answer period. Mr. Kubota, please.
Okay, thank you very much, Waka-san, for sharing the Ubuntu concept. So, Ubuntu, you kind of, it's meaning like, I am because you are in English, but if you were asked to translate it into Japanese, what kind of phrase would be appropriate?
I think omoyari is similar to Ubuntu. It's care for others in Japanese culture.
Yeah, looking at reading your script and also listening to your speech, I felt like maybe okage-sama would be appropriate because it could be more like, So it's from our side and also from the other side, right? Yeah, it's going to be a mutual thing, right? So that okage-sama or maybe omoiyari concept in Japanese, you translate in Japanese, but maybe it's kind of like well quite similar in Japanese society, Japanese culture, because many people say like as Takiaki said they did like omotenashi or omoiyari or something like that. Maybe that's omotenashi. Sorry, let's forget about that. But maybe many Japanese are kind of like very used to this concept. So, what kind of extra message would you like to give to the Japanese people who already knows the okage-sama concept, who already knows the omoiyari concept?
Let me think for a moment. Sully, could you please could you repeat?
Repeat it. Okay. So we already know about the omoiyari concept. We already have omoiyari. We already have the okage-sama mindset. And you're trying to share it with us about the Ubuntu concept that is quite similar. So we already know that. So what is the meaning of your speech?
Okay.
Yeah.
My meaning of my speech is we are all connected and we can live alone. So we live together and my happiness depends on others.
Okay. Well, I mean, what your speech would mean to us, because we already know that, because what kind of extra value would you kind of give us through your speech? Yeah, so that was what I was thinking about anyway. My next question, going to my next question. So I understood about the Ubuntu concept, and well, you're having also a struggle with it because you couldn't speak to the lost foreigners, right? Lost tourists, right? But what kind of like action are you doing based on that Ubuntu concept?
Oh, I first step is to love your neighbor and saying thank you and care for my family, friends, and teacher. Yes.
Okay, well, I want to know more about more concrete. What kind of like action are you doing? But okay, the time has come. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pickleton. Thank you, Ms. Nishio. Here is the judgment time. The ninth speaker is Miss Young-in from Tokyo Korean School. She will deliver her speech under the title of Redefining Normal. Redefining Normal. Miss An, would you come up to the stage?
Normal. Normal. Our society is built upon these 6 letters, often condemning anyone who dares to step outside the pattern. Social and cultural norms shape the way we act, the way we speak, and the way we see one another. For those who are on the margins of society, the word normal can feel like a wall, solid, cold, and difficult to climb. Cultural differences often reinforce these walls, making it difficult for some to find a place where they truly belong. I learned early in life what it feels like to live outside those boundaries. I was born on September 1st, 2007 in Suncheon, South Korea, and moved to Japan a couple months later. I attended a Japanese kindergarten until the age of 6 when my family moved to America. We settled in Novi, a small town with very few Asian residents. My first language barrier came with my name on my first day of American kindergarten. Youngin? Yeonjin? They would ask, and I would try to pronounce Youngin, but my limited proficiency in English, combined with my Japanese accent, had made the situation more frustrating. I remember begging my parents to give me an American name like the other Asians in my class, but that yielded no results. However, as time flew by, I began to adapt. I adjusted to American life, doing school activities, and started to feel as though I belonged. But just as I was settling in, life changed again. In 2019, my family moved back to Tokyo, and once again, I felt out of place. Adjusting to Japanese society, as well as my new Korean school, was a challenge. Reading and writing proved to be difficult with my limited vocabulary, while my bleached hair and American accent only made it harder for me to fit in with my classmates. My name, again, made life so much more difficult because everyone struggled to pronounce it. This hostility towards difference created an obsession towards being normal, and I developed an underlying sense of perfectionism and berated myself for little mistakes. I became overly self-conscious of the words I used and how I presented myself. This self-made hate made me feel alone, and I felt as if the walls around me were crashing down over my head. However, this self-consciousness drove me to work harder on my Korean and Japanese, and my continuous efforts have made me fluent in all 3 languages. Although I still feel the pressure of these walls, they're not as strong as they once were, and instead, I feel as if those walls have encompassed me and my insecurities. For years, I thought belonging was the only way I could fit in. I thought changing myself, trying to be normal, was the only way I could fit in with my peers. However, my understanding of normal has changed, and I no longer see walls as I once had. These walls are homes, encompassing us and our diversities. Audre Lorde once wrote, it is not our differences that divide us. It is our inability to connect, accept, and celebrate those differences. My life, woven from 3 countries, multiple cultures, and countless moments of adaptation, has taught me that belonging is not about erasing what makes us different, but about celebrating it. I hope others can also find comfort in this idea, understanding that normal is different for each person, and that the walls that now divided us are homes, encompassing our diversities. Thank you.
Now we have a 3 minutes question and answer period. Mr. Kubota, please.
Okay, thank you very much. Yong-in-san, right? I like that, right?
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, good. Thank you for your speech. So talking about normal,
Yes.
like normal. You experienced living in South Korea, like, and then also living in Japan, and also you can speak English. So you mean you're in touch with so many cultures, multiple cultures, right? And that shaped you.
Yes.
But on the contrary, maybe in the audience in this room, but there might be people like Japanese people, just never being abroad, even never stepped out from Japan, right? So they have no kind of like, didn't have any opportunities to interact with the foreign cultures or maybe some foreign people, or people who are like somehow different.
Yeah.
So what kind of advice would you give to those Japanese people who have never been in touch with the other multiple cultures or various cultures? Because they can't imagine, because they never experienced that.
I think I wanted to say through my speech that normal is not same for everyone, but different for each person. So for people who have only experienced like one cultures, I want to say to them that that's your definition, that's your standard of normal. But I want you to understand that other people may have different values and different experiences. So even if you can't understand them, I want you to know and accept that they're different, but that's their normal.
Okay, my next question, also is for like normally or usually, like that means maybe in a daily conversation, like we might say, 普通は whatever, blah, 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 things like that. Usually you behave like this in this certain opportunity or something like that. Unconsciously, you say like that, right?
Yeah.
But it means that if you think that this one some certain behavior is normal or
Yeah.
usual, it means that maybe we can have been having some kind of prejudice against that object, right? So how could we remove this kind of prejudice, or like, what do you think about this phrase to normally, usually, which we might unconsciously use in our daily lives?
I think we need to understand that not everyone has the same experiences. So, with the phrase "普通は," I think that's for people who assume that everyone else had the same experiences. So I think that's why they say it. But I think by experiencing different cultures, multiple people, then those kinds of prejudices will disappear gradually in the future.
Okay, great answer. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kubota. Thank you. Here is gym time. The 10th speaker is Miss Yuki Ito from Saitama Municipal Rural High School. She will deliver her speech under the title Life is Unfair. Life is Unfair. Miss Ito, would you come up to the stage?
Life is so unfair. Have you ever felt this way? There is a girl in my class who is really smart. She always gets high scores on tests. She's so smart and sweet and cute. It makes me feel sick. But what I really hate is she doesn't seem to study at all. I'm in the BSN club, one of the busiest clubs there is. So my only chance to study is after class. Every day, I sit quietly, trying to improve my grades. But that girl, she's just walking around chatting with friends. I'm trying not to fail. But all I can hear is her sweet, cute, and very annoying voice. Life is so unfair. One time, I was struggling in a difficult math class, and I turned around and saw that girl was fast asleep. She still got the top score in the class. Some people are just unlucky, I guess. I complained to my mom, but she said, maybe she studies really hard on the weekend. You don't study at all when you have fun. You just come home and sleep. My mom always hits the mark. It's true that I don't study much outside of school. But that can't be the only reason, right? One day, after club practice, I was having ramen with a friend. We were chatting and laughing, and before we knew it, it was almost 10 p.m. As we stepped out of the shop, guess who we saw? That same girl. She was leaving a cram school. Hey, it's you! My friend said. You're just getting back from cram school? That's amazing! And she replied, it's not amazing. My parents make me go every night. And on the weekend, I have to study even more. Honestly, the only time I get to relax is at school. Life is so unfair. Something in her cute, sweet voice sounded like frustration, like sadness. Because I was jealous, I couldn't see that she was struggling as much as me. Life is unfair, but not in the way I thought. Now, when I hear her cute, sweet voice while I'm trying to study, I feel happy. Happy that she has a chance to relax. Life is so unfair. Have you ever felt this way? I'm sure that every one of you has looked at someone else and thought, wow, they have it so easy. But what we don't see are the struggles that they're carrying silently. So here's my challenge for you. Instead of comparing yourself to others, start measuring your own progress. Ask yourself, what's one small thing I can do today that I couldn't do last week? And when you see someone you admire, or maybe even someone you're jealous of, don't just think, life is so unfair. Instead, try this. Encourage them. Ask them how they do it. Share your own struggles. If each of us here today chooses to focus on progress instead of comparison, then maybe life will start to feel a little more fair. Thank you.
Now we have a 3 minutes question and answer period. Mr. Kubota, please.
Okay, thank you very much. Huh? So, do you have any experience of actually encouraging someone who is superior to you?
Oh, thank you for your question. When we receive the test score, sometimes my friend feels shocked. So that time I always cheer them.
Okay. Well, my next question. So you also said that share our own struggles to people who are superior to us, and like ask for like more advice or something like that. But it requires it requires courage to show our weak points or vulnerabilities to other people, right? Because we need to be courage. We need to be brave enough to actually to stare at the weak point we have and to even to share it with someone else. How could we have the courage?
Please.
Okay, so when you said that we need to share our own struggles, we need to share our own weak points. It means like weak points, right? Because struggles is because because we have some kind of weak points and the lack of ability or maybe something like that, right? So how could we have the courage to actually to accepting that our own weakness and even sharing it with other people?
Let me see.
You don't know. Okay. Well, let's change the question. So, life is so unfair. That's true, I think, because, yeah, it's true. But maybe like comparing myself with Shohei Ohtani would be just crazy, isn't it? Because he's so different. He's so superb. He's such a genius. Maybe he's so talented. So we never compare ourselves with Shohei Ohtani. So maybe we compare ourselves with someone close to us. Why is that? Why don't we compare ourselves with Shohei Ohtani?
Why we don't
Like,
compare?
so the person who is so talented.
Maybe I think to compare someone who is superstar, maybe I feel very vulnerable. I'm very vulnerable, so I think I will feel very sad.
Oh, you compare yourself with Otani-san, you feel sad, right? Well, that's interesting. Okay, so time's done. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kinoshiro. Here is judgment time. The 11th speaker is Miss Yukino Suzuki from Fujimigaoka High School for Girls. She will deliver her speech under the title of Breaking the Cycle of Bullying. Breaking the Cycle of Bullying. Miss Suzuki, would you come up to the stage?
Has someone been kind to you today? As you recall what that person said, I'll share some facts that might surprise you. In 2020, 83% of schools in Japan reported incidents of bullying. Globally, 1 in 3 young people experience bullying. Bullying is a serious issue. So, what does this have to do with my question? Let's find out. Hi, I'm Yukino Suzuki, a typical Japanese student. But today, I'm not here to speak as a student, but but as someone who has experienced both sides of bullying. Yes, I've been bullied and I bullied others. When I was 5, I moved to America due to my dad's job. At the time, I could barely speak Japanese, let alone English. At first, everyone was kind to me and I was happy. But then, a Japanese boy at school who was annoyed that he wasn't the only Japanese kid anymore started bullying me with his friends. They mocked my English. They even used violence. I hated going to school, but skipping school wasn't an option. Luckily, I had friends. We fought back and gave them a taste of their own medicine. It wasn't the best decision to use violence as our solution, as our fights evolved into boys versus girls wars. Sadly, those wars caused me to start bullying boys who were weaker than me. I knew it was wrong, but it became normal for the rest of my stay. When I was 10, I returned to Japan and entered a class for students who had lived abroad. Now remember, I had lived in America for 5 years. Could I speak English? Yes. Japanese? No. You can probably guess what happened next. My fellow classmates were returnees, but not all of them could speak English fluently. I became best friends with a girl who did. Her other friend was left out. She was hurt and angry. And just like that, I was back to being bullied again. Wow. The situation was bad, but it didn't last long. Fortunately, or not, her new target was another boy. I didn't defend him. I actually started helping the girl, as I didn't want to be bullied anymore. Then the girl moved away, and I was blamed for the situation. I was shocked. Everyone had bullied him, yet only I was the one who took the blame. I was scorned by many people for what felt like decades, but honestly, I deserved it. I apologized to the boy, but the damage had already been done. I'm not Doraemon. I don't have a time machine to erase what I did, but I can take responsibility for it, and I can speak up now so others don't make the same mistakes I did. Bullying doesn't just hurt people momentarily. It changes who we become. I learned the hard way that mental damage can turn anyone into a bully, even someone who was once a victim. We cannot let this bad cycle control us. Each of us, every single one of you, has the power to choose a better way, to speak up when you see something wrong, and to build a space where everyone feels welcome. Let's not wait for someone else to make a change. Let's find the courage and shout out what's wrong, because we don't need to be Doraemon to change ourselves. It's kindness that matters. Then our community, our country, our globe will overflow with kindness. So let me ask you a new question. Have you been kind to someone today? I hope the answer is yes for today and every day. Thank you, and I truly hope that you will pass this kindness on.
Now we have a 3 minutes question and answer period. Mr. Kubota, please.
Okay, Sam, thank you very much for sharing. Yeah, I was very surprised to hear that you were also the bully. Yeah. So, in your speech, there are two situations, right? One was in U.S. It resulted to girls versus boys wars, right? The second one in Japan, right? You were bullied from girl, and your new target shifted to the boy, and you also bullied him, right? So, my first question is about the first case in U.S., right? So at the very beginning, there was some Japanese boy who bullied, right? But after the girls versus boys war occurred, was that boy bullied?
So that boy actually moved away,
Okay.
and so he wasn't very involved in our war,
Okay.
and yeah, so I actually bullied boys who weren't really related to the situation, and well, I know it's wrong, but as I said, it was just normal for me because everyone else was doing it.
Okay. My next question. Yeah. So that boy moved before the war occurred, right? But what if he didn't move and he was involved in the girl versus boys war, and he was bullied by someone else? Do you think? What do you think about him? Do you think like, oh, he deserves that because what he's experiencing right now is what he actually did to you?
Honestly, I would love to say that I would help him out, but I'm not that kind of person. Or well, I've changed now, and of course, I might be able to help him right now. But then I would probably have cheered on whoever was bullying him. But right now, I can say with confidence that I would do my best to be kind to him and help him out of the situation.
Okay. Well, in your as per your conclusion of speech, the key phrase was kindness, right? And yeah, this would be great if everyone is in the world are so kind. But now the reality is not because were there bullying in the school, war between countries, yeah, so many problems and social issues are happening right now. It means that everyone, not everyone in the world is kind enough to others. So how could we make everyone have their own kindness to others? How would you like to um, realize your dream, your core message into the society?
Well, that is a very good question. And upon writing this speech, I was also thinking about that. And I can't say that if I do this, everyone will be kind. So my answer would just be for me to be kind to others and for others to return that kindness in some way to it doesn't have to be me, it can be anyone else. And then if that kindness chain, I guess, would spread, everyone would be a little bit more kinder than they were before.
Okay, so maybe we could start from an individual level.
Mhm.
Okay, got it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kubota. Thank you, Ms. Suzuki. Here is judging time. The 12th speaker is Miss Yurika Yano from Shoei Girls Senior. She will deliver her speech under the title of Who Really Am I? Who Really Am I? Miss Yano, would you come up to the stage?
The sun beat down as I stood in front of the classroom door, my knees trembling with anxiety. I put my hand on the door. but couldn't bring myself to push it open, scared of what was waiting for me on the other side. I thought to myself, what would everyone think of me? A new student from a completely different part of the world. Millions of thoughts raced through my mind, but after minutes of contemplating, I finally opened the door. That was the moment I, an ordinary 5-year-old Japanese girl, was thrown into a completely different universe. The biggest wall I faced was trying to fit in. Every morning, when I stepped into the classroom with English posters on the walls, I was reminded that I did not belong there. Every lunch, when I opened my lunchbox with rice and umeboshi inside, I was reminded that I was different from my American friends. I was tired of constantly feeling like the odd one out. So I learned to fit in by imitating everyone else. This finally made me feel accepted, but a part of me always felt as though I was hiding my true self. After 3 years in America, it was time for me to return to Japan. Joining a local Japanese school, I felt lost once again. My classmates came up to me telling me that I was different or too American. In America, I always saw myself as a Japanese girl in America, but in Japan, people treated me as somewhat of a foreigner. This made me question, where do I belong? Or who really am I? However, I later realized that this is not a feeling that I only have. It's something we all share. Look around this room. Different ages, different genders, and different backgrounds. Yet everyone here has at least one story unique to them that has made them compare themselves with others and question their identity. In recent years, social media has only exacerbated the situation, making comparison a very toxic habit. A recent experiment we did in health class at school made me realize just how common this feeling is. Every student turned in a card, a blue one if we believed we were worthy, or a yellow one if we believed we were somewhat worthless. What was shocking was that most students in my class turned in a yellow card, meaning they believed they were somewhat worthless. Some of the reasons being, I don't fit in today's beauty standards, or being surrounded by talented friends makes me feel worthless. This shows how harmful the constant urge to fit in or catch up to others is. You feel like you're not enough, so you try to fit in. Then you realize you still don't feel satisfied, so you keep trying and trying until you realize you're lost. You realize all the time you spent trying to fit in, your identity slowly started to slip away from you, and you are only left with the question, who really am I? Maybe this is a question that you've asked yourself too, so that's why I want to share this message with you. Figuring out who you are instead of forcing yourself to fit in is more crucial than anything else, because that is when you can truly discover how valuable you are. To be honest, I still haven't come to a conclusion with the question, who really am I? I gained different experiences in both America and Japan. This year, I joined 2 English programs, both regarding self-improvement and understanding self-worth. Still, if you walk up to me and tell me to describe myself, I won't have a perfectly prepared answer to tell you. But you know what? That's perfectly fine. Why? Because figuring out who you are is a long journey. How others perceive you doesn't exactly define who you are. A simple online personality quiz doesn't define who you are either. But by going out of your way and gaining different experiences and perspectives, you can truly discover who you are. That is when you can stop trying to fit in and instead you realize just how valuable you are. Finally, let me end this speech with a shocking fact. According to a hospice nurse, the most common deathbed regret confession is, I regret not following my heart and finding my true purpose. So now, I want you to ask yourself too, who really am I? Thank you for listening.
Now we have a 3 minutes question and answer period. Mr. Kumoda, please.
Okay, Okay, thank you very much, Yuka-san.
Thank you.
So, if I ask you, who really are you? Briefly, how would you answer?
I would say I have a strong connection with both my American self and my Japanese self. And I would also use, I recently learned a word called an ambivert, and that is the mixture of being introverted and extroverted. And I learned it in my English class, and I was like, oh my God, this is like the perfect word to describe myself. I'm outgoing in some situations, but in other situations, I could be really like shy. So yeah, I would say I'm an ambivert who has a strong sense of connection to my American self and my Japanese self.
Okay. Well, if I ask myself, like, who really am I, maybe I would just answer, like, I'm simply who I am, or things like that. So maybe that's what you're expecting other people, especially the audience, to feel like after listening to your speech, right? Okay, got it. So, my next question is about your past. And you said that while living in the US, you try to imitate other people. Like, you try not to be like a Japanese, like, right, student, right? But what if you didn't imitate yourself? What would have happened after that? Do you think like you would be like bullied because by someone else, like other classmates, because you're so different, or maybe other result could happen? Or what do you think about that?
I think I would have probably stood out in the crowd. California. I lived in California, which is a very diverse place, but still, I felt some sort of barrier to like with other people from other countries. So I think if I hadn't really like imitated everyone, I would have probably stood out in the crowd, and I would keep feeling like God went out maybe.
Okay. Well, let's talk about the Japanese school situation then. So you came back from the US and you felt also like kind of isolated. You were kind of alien for from your classmates' viewpoint, right? I felt like me, and I also experienced the same kind of situation, in my childhood. So I do really understand that. But maybe I think that the teacher should have given a lecture towards your classmates before you come into the class, right? And because saying like, oh, that there is a girl who's going to come in and we're going to welcome her, but she's somehow different because she lived in very different countries, a very different culture with very different people. So maybe there would be some kind of difference. You might feel some kind of gap between her, but like, let's try to accept that, or things like that. Maybe teachers should have said that, but maybe your teacher didn't.
Yes.
So, and actually, sorry, it's going passing the time, but it's quite common in this school days, still accepting students coming back from other countries, right? So maybe all these teachers should be more aware of that. And so many teachers are here, right, in this auditorium. So what kind of message would you like to give?
I think although it's important to, I think, when I came back to Japan, I was only in third grade, so the teacher was like, the students are still like immature to learn to accept other people. But I think all teachers should acknowledge that regardless of age, everyone should accept everyone for even if they are different or not normal.
Okay, so time's up. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kuja. Thank you, Ms. Yap. Here is judging time. Now, all participants have finished delivering the speeches. The judges will leave this hall to decide the winners. Please stand up and give them warm applause. Please be seated. Now we have another intermission for 60 minutes. After the intermission, we would like to begin the closing ceremony from 4:50 p.m. 4:50 p.m. So please be seated by 4:45 p.m. 4:45. Thank you. 日本語で失礼いたします。これより60分間の休憩です。4時50分から閉会式を始めますので、5分前の4時45分にはご着席ください。ありがとうございます。
Finally. Finally. It's too